video afterwards.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties. We are restarting the meeting at 6:35. I don't think anyone passed it. Make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the community development meeting held on January 8, 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Discuss proactive property maintenance program. You want to take that, Paul?
Yes. This is more of I guess, a procedural issue that we're asking you to consider for us this evening. We have had a property maintenance and development department, but it's functioned as a reactive complaint-based program. And while that certainly meets the needs of sort of the biggest and greatest issues in the community, I believe that going to a proactive program helps us identify those other items that kind of insidiously grow and could become problematic for our community. We have had one full-time employee there until 2013. 15?
15.
With you?
I started in
13. And that was, I have two of our code compliance officers here with us this evening, Ken Karzeski and Jim Calamino. And Ken was our full-time employee starting in 2013, and then Jim started in 2015 as part-time and went to full-time in 2017. All the while in my hope of moving us to a proactive program. With the software coming on board here in the next couple months, I'm hoping to gain some more efficiencies, as well as the use of clerical staff and the reassignment of some duties with our zoning administrator, so that I can free up some of the gentleman's time to actually function as a proactive program. The attachment that you got in your packet with a beautiful cover taken by Ken Strome was written by Ken. I sort of followed the Six Sigma practices and delegated and asked the code compliance officers to create their program. This is something we've been talking about for a while. And so I think Ken did an excellent job of putting together the program, understanding the goals that were set and identified here in the memo. He met every one of those and then took it to the point of implementation. The only two goals that I mentioned in the memo that we're going to look at down the road, that would be a vacant property registration and possibly rental housing inspection program. Neither one of those are we addressing now. I'm telling you all of this, and big surprise, I'm not asking for any money, I'm not asking for any staff. It's certainly something, though, that I think is important for us to discuss here, because it needs to be supported by you all, because we all know how these guys every day deal with a complaint-based job, you know, has its liabilities, and no one likes to get a letter or a note or a ticket, in the worst case scenario, telling them how they're not meeting village code. And we also know how a lot of times that could progress to the point of reaching out to you, or reaching out to the mayor to intervene on their behalf. And so we want to make sure that everyone understands going to a proactive program is certainly going to open up the opportunity for more violations and more citations. But certainly while we're trying to be aggressive, we're being consistent and fair. And that is, we're having a standardization of what those checklists would be that they will be looking at. Again, no cost. I think that's the thing that probably should make you most happy. But I gave you some statistics in the memo here. We look at last year, 784 complaints. And while that number may not, it should impress you when you think of how many days you have to work in a year, every one of those complaints comes with administrative requirements, follow-up inspections, possibly leading to a ticket. This evening, the gentlemen were at the adjudication court. They have to attend court. A lot of times, they're not getting attendance at those courts. So there's a lot of work following up on these. So we're hoping with a proactive program that will begin to address issues here in our community to maintain the high quality of life. I think it's one of the most important things we can do to keep our quality of life at the high standard that it is. And I'm looking for your support in doing that this evening. And if you have any questions how the program will operate, the gentlemen are here this evening to answer your questions.
Ken, you have anything you want to add?
No, like Paula said, was tasked with trying to put this together. I've been attending a lot of different conferences and a lot of different training, and pretty much the things that are in here, especially with the dividing up of the workload, it's like dividing the town into zones and areas. It makes it a little easier to track complaints and who's going to be handling them. Anybody in the community development department, if they receive a complaint, all they have to do is ask what the address is and say, oh, that's Ken's, or that's Jim's. It just makes it a little bit easier. Fire department, police department, public works, they all use zones. I think that's a good thing to do. One of the things, just quickly, briefly, is going to look at what I would like to target. Monday mornings, I like to be going up and down the main streets. Jim will take east and west, I'll take north and south, or vice versa. Just checking the main streets for like obvious problems. Signage, you know, that pops up, excessive garbage, things like that. I think we'll be able to, as long as we have like a scheduled regimen to go up and down these streets and so forth, I think we'll be able to address them faster. The whole idea of proactive versus reactive is addressing the problems when they're small instead of when they become large, because a lot of times when we're reacting to them, they're already large. And we'll even ask the person, why didn't you call us earlier? When was, when was the last time you observed this? And they'd be like, they would state something, well, it's been like this for at least 7, 9 months or 2 years and so forth. It's like, no. Okay, so we want to at least try to let the citizens know that we are proactive. We want to get things done and address them when they're small. And I hope as a positive consequence, our complaints will go down. But I'm sure that'll take time. So.
Bill O'Brien?
No, I think it's great. It's a proactive idea. It's a great idea in any area.
I'm speaking with the village manager. I won't be taking this to the board. I just want it to be acknowledged, and we'll certainly give this some press on the website and maybe, I don't know, in some other fashion. But it's also about educating our residents as well in terms of what we expect. And to that end, I just wanted to mention Jim right now on a monthly basis attends the crime-free housing training session with Doug Alba, and at those meetings he's listing out the top 10 property maintenance issues. Again, part of this education, letting the public know what our expectations are.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, discuss pro champs.
This is sort of a companion issue to the one I just discussed. Just as I mentioned in our proactive program, we're going to be using various tools like our new software. This will be one more tool in our toolkit in addressing property maintenance in town. I do have Stan Urban in the audience today if you have any questions, but this is a company that really found a niche in sort of the housing crisis of 2008, 9 or whatever, where we started to see increase in our foreclosures, and we started to see sometimes the blight that accompanies foreclosed properties. ProChamps actually administers several programs. They administer a foreclosure program, foreclosure registration program, vacant property registration program, and rental housing registration program. At this time, we're recommending that we just look at the foreclosure registration program and see how that runs, and then maybe we'll consider the other programs down the road. In the memo, you'll see that I've noted that they've identified 320 foreclosures here in town. And what they do as a company, they have a registration suggestion fee that's a biannual fee of $300. They take $100 of that. The $200 per registration comes back into the village, so it is an opportunity for the village to recoup costs and actually use it to be put into programs that help us with our property maintenance program and all. So what we're suggesting is to go along with their recommendation. You can go higher or lower, whatever you wish, but 300 seems to be the standard of their 400 some municipalities that they work with. Depending on the response rate, I called around to some of the references and I got anywhere between 80 and 85% success in collecting those registration costs. I don't know, Stan could probably give a number, but that's just what I did in my quick survey. What we could anticipate gaining from this registration program with the current number of foreclosures is between $102,000 and $128,000 annually. So the only really thing I'd like to talk with you all is I had some questions reading through the program and seeing how other communities administer it. You would have an option to only require certain land uses to register their foreclosed properties. For example, if you wanted this just to be residential, staff is recommending that you do all uses, residential, commercial, and industrial. And the reason why, at first, it concerned me to impose any kind of additional fees or impact on commercial or industrial property, but you need to note that this is really going to the banks. Once we're into a foreclosure process, we're no longer working with the property owner per se. The mortgage has been released and we're dealing with the bank. So this fee would go, and we don't have a lot of foreclosed commercial and industrial properties, but for those that we have, I'd like to keep it simple and just make the program address all land uses. But that's one question I'm putting before the committee. The second question was whether you wanted to impose a late fee. Just because it's optional, I think we should. You need to have some sort of hammer, if you will. It's a 10% charge, so it's not excessive, but it is something most of the other communities are doing. And the last is we do have the option. ProChamps asks for a 2-year contract. If you want to only do 1-year contract, you certainly can do that. I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other on how you want to proceed with that. So those are 3 questions that I'd like to have your response to, please.
Is there a procedure set up if we, 90-day notice to cancel it, or 90-day notice to extend it, or whatever amount?
I
It's 30-day notice.
30 days.
30-day notice. Okay. You understand how the program works, and I don't know if you caught that from the memo, but basically this frees up the co-compliance officer's time so they don't have to be looking up ownership every time they come across a foreclosed property. That's what ProChamps does. They monitor all court records so they see every transfer of property when it goes into a foreclosure.
Would this help if someone calls the village and says, hey, I'm looking for XYZ size and so on and so forth?
For a foreclosed on a foreclosed
Yeah,
property?
yeah.
There's no disclosure issues. I mean, but they spend a lot of time, tracking down. Some of these foreclosures can flip several times,
Right.
and so they may think they have the contact and they don't. As part of the registration program, they're looking at any kind of management company or whatever. So if we have a problem with mowing or debris on the property, all the guys have to do is look in the database and the information is there.
If I may just interject for a moment, is
Speak kind of loud from back there
Paula
because...
did a great job. As a matter of fact, she probably does a better job than I do explaining the program, but I think the most important fact of the program is the information that ProChamps provides to the staff. What we do, she said, we are like a tool. We do all the research. At the click of a button, your code compliance officers will know that 123 Lovers Lane, the mortgage is held by Chase Bank in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with a name, address, phone number, and email of that bank, who to contact. They will also know who the property manager company is, and we showed Paula and several of the staff, Dave was in the meeting. Most of the property managers are in other states. They don't even know where South Cook is at or South Will is at. So it's the information, I think, that's just as important, just as you said, trustee, is the fact that it is beneficial if someone's looking to buy foreclosed properties, all the information is available if the village wants to share it.
Do you want us just to bring it to the board level?
Do you have a preference of 1 year or 2 year contract?
2 is fine, because there's a cancellation. We can make it 10 years if we want it.
Late fee is okay with you guys?
The company's been in business since 2009. We have 400 municipalities nationally. Not one has ever opted out. Because just as Paula pointed out, I don't think it's necessarily about the money. I don't think Tinley Park would like to turn away $100,000. So it's a win-win for everyone.
My plan is to bring this to the 16th for approval at the board.
Dave, what's your thoughts on that?
In terms of 2 years, and I would add...
No, the fees and registration fees? The late fees and the registration fees?
Yes, I think you should charge the $100 late fee.
Or no, it's 10%.
10%. In $300, yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion.
No.
Need a motion, move on. Sorry.
Make a motion to send it to the board.
Second.
Last is,
Mike's now called.
no,
Sorry.
It's
We're a little
okay.
back with it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 5, discuss Lakota additional services, Harmony Square, Paul.
Yes. Look at the size of this folder stereo. You're all familiar about our fun project downtown. Back in June, you approved a contract with Lakota for the design services of the plaza. Within that contract, and I've given you a copy of the contract and their Exhibit A, which is our Attachment B, which at that time, because we hadn't designed the plaza, they identified a range of fees for certain specialty design services. That would include like the architect, that included the water feature, AV, acoustic designer, and the ice rink. And the range of what those, at that time, back in June, what they thought they would be between $260,000 and $335,000. It was a range because we really didn't know, what the extent of the design of the plaza would be. Well, now we're at the point of actually hiring the architect and the water features specialist. And we also, because the ice rink design has changed a bit, where at one point it was going to be a custom design, and we felt that we were going to have to hire an ice rink designer at the tune of $150,000 to $180,000. We have now decided to go with the standard size rink, and we can almost buy it off the shelf. So we're seeing a considerable savings on that. So as outlined in the contract adjustment request, what originally was a range of $260,000 to $335,000, we've got that down to an estimate of not to exceed $227,050. So, and it's primarily, I think the biggest savings came at the ice rink. Lakota's going to handle that. They're working with vendors, bringing those forward to us to investigate and analyze whether we're going to purchase or rent the rink and the skates. The request this evening then is for a final amendment to the contract that will be not to exceed $416,050. Again, that is an additional $227,050 for these specialty design services that we're actually commencing in a meeting tomorrow, hopefully towards the end of next week. Any questions? We'll bring this to the 16th as well, is our plan.
All right, Bill?
No.
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. Let the record reflect there are none. I'd like to adjourn the community development meeting at 6:55.
Call the Public Works Committee meeting to order at 6:54. Make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the Special Public Works Committee meeting held on March 12th, 2019. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 3, discuss fiscal year 2020 pavement management program. Colby?
Thank you. This is for the motor fuel tax resolution for the fiscal year 2020 pavement management program for the street resurfacing. The recommendation includes 11.2 miles of street to be resurfaced under the program. The total funding needed for the estimated cost for this program is $3,960,000. Breakdown between the two funds are for the motor fuel tax fund is $1,506,784, and the local roads fund is $2,453,216. We found success in bidding the program in the previous years early to get lower asphalt prices. Early bids tend to be more competitive since it's often the first large program out there for bid, and there's still uncertainty in the market as to the availability of projects for contractors to bid. A map and list of streets for the project are here in front of me. They will also be added to the village website under current projects once this is approved by the board. I'm looking to get a recommendation from the Public Works Committee for this to be placed on the agenda for the 4/10/19 village board meeting tomorrow.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Don, a motion to add this to the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, discuss a proposal for refuse contract. Pat?
Sorry, hold on.
Oh,
There's one more thing. B is the motor fuel tax engineering agreement. Sorry, looking to get a recommendation from the board to have Robinson Engineering perform preliminary engineering and construction inspection services for the 2009 motor fuel tax project. In doing so, the board will need to approve the engineering agreement between the village and Robinson Engineering at the board meeting.
Any questions on the agreement with the engineering firm? If not, make a motion to add the engineering firm, Robinson Engineering, to the agenda tomorrow.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, discuss garbage contract. Pat?
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Yonker. What we've done over the past few months is done our research and reached out to numerous municipalities in the area. We've put together a draft RFP, which is under attorney review right now. This will be a unique RFP that will be going out. It will include electronic recycling services, hazardous household materials, Christmas tree recycling. There will be an option for condo and townhome associations. We won't have individual units, but it would have to be opted in by the actual association. So there'll be that alternative pricing in there for them to look at if they want to opt into it. Also, there will be senior citizen and disabled veteran discounts that will be offered based on criteria that will be in the RFP. So this will be a unique one from what we had previously. We're recommending that it will be an initial 4-year contract with 2 4-year renewals with that. So it will be going to the board on April 16th. And the draft RFP will also go out to all of you for review. Any questions?
Don't they already do Christmas tree recycling?
No.
No? They take my tree.
They took it.
We used to years ago.
Any questions?
No questions.
A motion to add this to the agenda for tomorrow?
No.
It's just 16th?
Yeah.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Public comment, let the record show there is none. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.